I've got to talk a slightly big picture so people can understand where we're going with this. But I'll work my way up. Trump said America first, but he also said, I want France to be France first, or, Uganda to be Uganda first. Look after yourselves. And everybody went, well, that sounds all right. I'm happy with that. But what's the problem? Why are those nations not in that position? Because they're controlled. And we'll get to the controlling aspect in a minute and the techniques very shortly. So forgive me if I wax lyrical just for a little bit. What are the problems? If you had to pick 5 problems that are preventing nations from becoming self-reliant, which is anathema to those that control the planet. The last thing they want are self-reliant, independent nations, and they will do everything to destroy it. And that's why they're doing this to the US. But what the controllers of the planet do is they ensure political instability, they ensure poverty, they ensure drug cartels and armed groups, right? Law and order issues, failing infrastructure, and a deficient healthcare system, whether it's private or public, makes no difference. So as long as you can keep that problem running in each of these countries, they will never become self-reliant. Now, why do they not want them to be self-reliant? Because the people that run the planet is not us. Never has been until DJ Team. It would never look like it was going to be. Let's just go back in history. The British East India Company, in just 1 year, had a greater global revenue than, say, Ford and General Motors profits in 1970. And this is going back in time. The British East India Company. Now, for those that need a refresher on the history, these companies were set up, they were sent overseas as corporations, and the spice trade was amazing. So it kicked off as a legitimate enterprise to create wealth through providing a good or a service. Okay, and so these companies were set up, but they figured out it was a lot easier to make money. And I want you to think of a gang of pimps and drug dealers. That's all they are. That's all Great Britain became. And so what they did was they got opium. They took it to Kew Gardens in London, got the best opium there. Took it to India, where they could, where the tea manufacturers could turn their hand to optimizing the product of poppies, and then they sold it to China, and that was called, that was the Opium War, and they just stuck it in. And so Great Britain became, if it ever was anything other than slave masters, and they, 2 cheers for Great Britain, if not 3, but they started doing that, and they just became a bunch of pimps. So they're not particularly clever in terms of business. They're just pimps and drug pushers. That's all they were for the longest possible time. And so here we go. We have the British Empire. Now, the British East India Company was run by 300 people. They what's the word? They obeyed no borders. They obeyed no laws. They respect no boundaries. Now, here's a jump for you for everybody to understand the structure of this. The descendants of the 300 that ran the East India Company now comprise the Committee of 300 that run the world. And like their forebears, they respect no boundaries. They respect no laws. They approve everything. And as a sideline, when Gorbachev went to the US after the collapse of the Soviet Union and he set up his institute, he actually said live on TV, and this has been approved by the Committee of 300. Now, that clip has evaporated. That's how powerful this Committee of 300 is. Now, I mention it because unless you understand the Committee of 300, and I've been working my way up in terms of talking about who's running the planet, the Masonic filth have captured an absolute bunch of my time because they're the heavy lifters. They're the morons on the ground that do the work, right? But now the people of the earth need to, certainly I'm trying to spread the word in Oz. You've got to read Dr. John Coleman's book on the Committee of 300. He gives you chapter and verse of exactly what's going on. And if you want to be shocked, it's a great book. It's the best espionage war thriller you can imagine, and it's all real. So if you like a good read, if you like Robert Ludlum, you like, the Bourne series and the rest of it, this makes that look like kindergarten stuff. So the Committee of 300, they run the planet. They select U.S. secretaries of state. Henry Kissinger was selected, all US secretaries of state are selected by the Committee 300. Jimmy Carter was selected as president because he'd had 3 mental breakdowns. He couldn't resist criticism and rejection. So they got a psychologically weak individual to be president so he could be persuaded of everything and anything. So the Committee 300, they select. Kissinger threatened the Italian prime minister and eventually had him killed. The Committee 300's representative, well, through their various agencies like the Club of Rome and things like that, and Council of Foreign Relations, they had Ali Bhutto, who was the leader of Pakistan, executed by their man in town, General al-Haq, and General al-Haq actually crossed the line a couple of times too and didn't follow the Committee of 300. And he was actually warned by Turkish Secret Service that he was going to suffer a mid-air explosion in his aircraft and be assassinated. So al-Haq was a bit clever. He had a defense intelligence agency team with him, with a brigadier general and all his people on his plane, thinking they wouldn't take him out. They took him out. They took out the Committee of 300, took out the American team on board as well. And this is a message to people. And so goes the allegation. They took out Kennedy, and they took him out. They could have taken him out with a heart attack, but they took him out in a spectacular and public fashion in order to send a message to every national leader: if we can take out the president of the US, the rest of you better follow suit. Okay, so now you're beginning to understand the Committee of 300 and their grip on the planet. The Committee of 300 control the planet with two means. One is money, mammon, or their god, Satan. That's it. Now, people will they will get people to sign up to do work for them because they pay well. And this is why the cash flow is critical. The drugs provide the cash flow in order to pay for things to get done. So is Venezuela about drugs? Yeah, but it's about the cash flow. El Chapo, this famous, drug lord from Mexico. My God, he's got $1.4 billion. He's a monster. He's not even a yapper type dog that won't shut up. Venezuela itself has got a dozen more billionaires with hundreds of billions of dollars at their disposal. It's about the cash flow. And so the Committee of 300 controls the planet through cash or their god, Satanism. And that's it. Now, let me address one more issue that ties into this. People are saying, please, and the idea is, please elevate your thinking here. It's the Zionists. No. It's the Jews. No. It's not even the Khazarian mafia or the black nobility. They're all the heavy lifters for the Committee of 300. Now, the Jew thing, just so we're clear on this, 92% of your Congress are dual citizens? Do they believe in Judaism? No, most Jews don't believe in Judaism. Oh, I'm a cultural Jew. What the fuck does that mean? Mm-hmm. And if you read the Talmud, it means they're sickos. But the point is this, 92%. That's because they had to sign up so they can reap the benefits of what they get working for the Committee 300. Big money. Retirement and silly jobs when they finish, they pay them a lot of money to do the heavy lifting. Money and their god, Satan. That's it. And the people that work their way up, so you think, the Jews are running the show, they're trying to distract you from the real source of power. No. They're just, the Jewish people, they're just as deceived as everybody else. Israel as a nation was a construct. We know that. It was the Khazarians, yes, the Khazarians, but they're not doing it either. And this is why when they say Israel is last, they're not talking about the nation. They're not even talking about, they're talking about this connection to the Committee of 300 that has used all of these devices to divide us, to keep nations broke and poor. And that's why DJT is such an existential threat to the Committee of 300, because he wants a strong Rwanda. He wants a strong Ethiopia. He wants a strong Australia. He wants a strong Brazil. He wants a strong fill in the blank. Because now what he is doing, what DJT is successfully doing, he is dismantling the iron-like grip, loosening the iron-like grip that the British, the Committee of 300 through their control through MI6 and all the rest of it, that's being dismantled step by step by step by step. But we have to be ready, willing, and able to then step up and do our work. You'll notice that that's a very complimentary description, yet lacking in detail. There's a reason for that. You can't even get a picture of this guy. This picture is a clip from an old video from a long time ago. This guy is deep into clandestine and covert worlds of intelligence. That's why you can't get much detail on him. If you know how to read between the lines, prestigious institutions. Yeah, I know exactly which prestigious institutions. So that's him. That shows his bona fides. Now, I'm going to show you a simplified map of the organizations that report to the Committee of 300. At the top, you can see the Committee of 300. Then you've got the US subsidiaries, all under control of the Committee of 300. The US National Reconnaissance Office, NRO, and Permindex under control. MI6, English intelligence, and if you're not aware, MI6 created both Mossad and CIA. MI6 have been going on since Queen Elizabeth I. Stands for Military Intelligence Department 6. It was headed up by a character called C most recently, and that's where you get the character M in the James Bond movies. Moving on, and you'll see the Anti-Defamation League are plugged into them as well. All these peace cents, they're not separate organizations, they're working hand in glove. Then you've got the Bilderberg Group, again famous amongst many people, Institute of Strategic Studies, and you've got the Round Table, and the Round Table controls a lot of the heavy lifting, let's say. Now, what do they talk about? Let's have a look. Institute for International Affairs, they're the ones that select your secretaries of state, for example, Kissinger, who wasn't working for the United States in any way, shape or form. Aspen Institute for Humanistic Studies, Canadian Institute for International Affairs, Union of Concerned Scientists, and they plug into the Tavistock Group, the Trilateral Commission, the CFR, Council on Foreign Relations, all working towards the same 300. The Dutchy Foundation, the bankers, moving on. The Tavistock Institute, MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Brookings Institute. These are famous names. They have real weight in their spheres, and they are under control. Wharton School of Economics, they're controlled, all of it. Moving on, and you can, the Rand Corporation, plugged into CIA, which was plugged into the MK Ultra program. Club of Rome. The Club of Rome, again, heavy lifters on behalf of the Committee 300. They do things. And then you've got individuals like Kissinger, who was appointed by the Committee of 300 as your Secretary of State, as they all are. The presidents don't matter. And Kissinger and the Star Group controlling all those mechanisms that control our lives: insurance, banking, real estate, technology, entertainment, you name it. It's there. So anyway, that's a simplified map of the mechanism of global control. And this is just the high level stuff. The low level stuff beyond it, the map becomes, it's like a bed sheet with font 10 writing on it.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The American populace is facing an unconventional warfare scenario. This is information warfare.